the Sterling Heights Public Library. My name is Brent, and today we're making macaroni salad. Come on down, I'll show you the ingredients. So, pretty basic ingredients today. We're going to be using some elbow macaroni, about a half a box. I've got some fresh dill, a little bit of fresh onion. I've got some frozen peas, and I've got some frozen shrimp here. I've got a little bit of black pepper, some mayonnaise, and a little bit of white vinegar. So I've got some water going here, and follow the directions on the box. We've got some salt in there already. So this is going to be 2 cups. There's going to be half a box of this. I'm going to throw that right in there. Crank the heat up so it comes back to a boil. Give it a quick stir so it doesn't stick together. And while this is going, we are going to prep some of our other ingredients. I've got the timer going on the macaroni behind me, and while that's going, we're going to take a few moments here and we're going to prep some of our other ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of the stems off of this dill. We're going to be using about a 1/4 cup of fresh dill. Don't need to get every single stem off of it, but the big ones, it's a good idea to get out of there. And we'll give that a nice chop. Get the onions going. We're not going to use a ton of onion, but a little bit. It's going to provide a nice crunch. There's our dill. Just set that off to the side for a moment. Take that onion, and I'm only going to need maybe about 1/3 of that, so I'm not going to bother cutting the whole thing. But I do want to get a little of that going. So go ahead and just okay, so go one direction, and come back and give a nice chop this direction. I don't want to overwhelm this with onion, so we're using a nice sweet onion here, and just using, that's probably about, that's about a 1/4 cup, 1/3 of a cup of it right there. When your pasta is almost done, when you got about a minute or 2 left on it, go ahead and just fish a little bit out there. Give it a taste. And when it's almost there, I'm going to show you a little trick here that'll save you cutting down on extra pans. Go ahead and add your shrimp right into the same water as the pasta. Crank the heat up good and let that go until those shrimp are done. It's not going to take very long, only probably about maybe a minute or 2 to get those done. So I pre-did a couple of these a little while ago, and I want to show you something here. This one shrimp here is cooked just about right. It's gone pink and it's curled, but it hasn't curled real tightly. This one that's real tightly curled here, when you see them really tightly curled like this here, they're a little overdone. This isn't the end of the world, but they're better when they're more like this. So we're just kind of watching these things here, and as they're cooking, you see how they're starting to curl? And this back is splitting open like this. Now these have been peeled and deveined. I bought them with the shell off, so we didn't have to shell them or anything. And they don't do this unless they're already peeled. Or already deveined anyway. But that's a good indication that they're getting about ready. So the shrimp are just about there. I'm going to test the pasta one more time here. Yep, that macaroni's ready. Now, go ahead and turn the heat off. Throw the peas right in the water. They don't really need to be cooked. I just want to make sure that they're not frozen and just warmed through. Take all this stuff, bring it over to the sink, turn it off. So I've got a colander in the sink right now, and I've got my pasta, my shrimp, and my peas all in the same water. I'm going to go ahead and throw that all right in the colander. Give it a nice shake just to get the extra water out of there. See how these shrimp have gone nice and pink? And they're curled but not tightly curled. These are still nice and tender. So I'll take a moment on that. And I'm going to cool these on a sheet pan. You see, a lot of people will cool these things in water, and that certainly works. But the trick with that is that it also tends to wash a lot of your flavor out of here. You don't really want to do that. So we're going to let this cool for a few minutes, and we'll go ahead and come back, and we're going to chop the shrimp up into some smaller pieces. And when this is fully cool, we'll assemble the macaroni salad. So I took the pasta and the peas, and on the tray, I took the whole tray and popped it in the refrigerator for about 15 minutes. So they're nicely chilled. While I was doing that, I also picked the shrimp out. We're going to chop those up into some smaller pieces. The size of the shrimp you use is not super important. You don't have to use the primo big ones for this. You can even use smaller ones and not have to worry about chopping them up. You can buy the pre-cooked ones and save yourself a step too. And I should mention, if it wasn't clear before, that these shrimp were largely thawed out before I added them to the pasta water. If you throw them in while they're still frozen hard, they'll drop the temperature of your pasta water pretty significantly, and they'll take longer to cook, and they'll interrupt your pasta water too. So I've got the macaroni there. I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons of white vinegar and just put that right in there. Might need a little bit more of that, so we'll come back to that if we need to. About 2/3 of a cup of mayonnaise. So this is a 1/3 measure, so I'm going to do this twice. Well, I got a little extra mayo in there. That won't hurt anything. Won't hurt anything at all. Set that aside for a moment. I will stir that in a moment. I do want to go ahead and throw the onions and the dill in there. And I'm just going to take a moment and cut these shrimp up into about 2 to 3 pieces each. These here were 50 to 60 count, and if you cut them across like that, you can actually get 3 pieces out of 1 cut, which also saves a little bit of time. Yeah. Some of these probably go in 4 pieces. A couple of them are a little bigger than others. And while this is really good with shrimp, if you don't like shrimp or can't eat shrimp, it also works really well with a can or 2 of tuna fish. Which is even easier yet because you don't have to cook that. It's already cooked. That's a nice brown. Chop that up in a couple smaller pieces. This was about a ½ pound of shrimp. If you really like shrimp, you can use more or a little less. Either way works. The exact proportions are not super important. Add those right into our bowl here. Give this a mix around. Oop, before I mix it too much, I'm going to add 2 grinds of black pepper. Just get everything mixed together and nicely incorporated. And before you serve this, you're going to want to let this sit probably 15 or 20 minutes just in order for everything to come together. If it does seem a little dry, you can always add, well, taste it before you add any more vinegar, but if you decide that it needs a little bit more tartness, you can add a little bit more vinegar to it, or a couple tablespoons of milk if it needs to be loosened up a little bit. But simple and very tasty mac salad. Give this one a try. I think you'll like it.